This is absolutely Essendon. It's our Geelong game review. The Dons going down by 45 points. Oh my gosh, so much to discuss and unpack from that game. Another milestone game for the Dons that we managed to celebrate with a loss. Geelong coming off a free fall, and we helped them find some form again. But before we do that, just want to apologise again that we did not deliver a West Coast game review. Last week was just terrible for us, a lot going on. We thought it might be late. We didn't actually think that we wouldn't be able to deliver one. So for all those people that were hitting the refresh button, waiting for that episode, again, 1,000 apologies. We hope that that never happens again. And we'll do our darndest.
I think
Uh,
only three people were waiting, but
yeah, right. Okay. I
you
just
know,
built it
I,
up a
I
little
I
bit.
don't think there was rioting in the streets somehow. Where's my absolutely Essendon episode, you bastards?
Mate, like
So
people waiting for the third episode of The Bear, I think there may have been
yeah,
some anticipation.
no, look, there was certainly a clamoring of disappointment out there, and I fully understand. But life happens, and I got to tell you, being inside a maximum security cell for a couple of nights, some
Yeah.
interesting characters in there.
How'd you go with that? What did you do with your one phone call?
Yeah, well, I won't be walking for a while, will I?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
otherwise, it was all good.
So
And
you've
I've
met a
had
few of the long termers.
a couple of Collingwood fans. Yeah, yep.
Yes. Okay.
It was all good, and I'm happily out again and enjoying the fresh air of freedom.
Right. Well, it's good to have
Make
you.
of that what you wish.
Yes. All right. Yes. That I'm just referring to a post that we did make on our community page. If you missed it, then you have no idea what we're talking about. But let's get into this game because, man, this one stings.
Sure does.
It really does. And we flagged this the last time we were bumping our gums on this channel. We talked about the road ahead. We sort of had a look at the next, I think, 6, 7 games. And I think it was you, DT, that said, this is the game. This is the one that it comes down to. This is where we know really where we're at. So, where are we at? Can we draw that conclusion given what transpired last night? And we'll get into the obvious events of the third quarter that still have me wound up.
Yeah. So I think let's just sort of go back to that discussion we had about how important this game was, because there's been a lot of talk in the AFL world about, is Essendon the real deal, or is it, a
Yeah.
contender or a pretender? And we've been defending vigorously any accusations that we are not the real deal, and a lot of that basically landed at the MCG last night. And the opportunity to not only beat a side that's been our nemesis for 20 years now, and I think we've only won 4 out of 25 games or some ridiculous number. Um, in the context of this season, where consolidating a top four position was absolutely on the cards, in the context of results that happened during the day prior to our game, with
Yeah.
Collingwood losing, Sydney losing, Fremantle suddenly emerging as a potential top four team. And then, whilst maybe not as important as some people would care to think, but then our former captain Dyson Heppel playing his 250th game, surely, apparently a much loved teammate.
Yeah.
You would think that the boys would get up for that. So there was definitely a lot riding on the outcome of this game. I think this was the opportunity to say to the football world, we're back. Unfortunately, this morning, we're not. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, as I think has been kind of the vibe going around the social media at the moment with Essendon supporters. Certainly
Yeah.
not. I think there's some concerns for sure, but I'm not of the school of thought that, well, that's it, it's all over.
Yeah.
However, that will be put to the test in the next 2 weeks, because we play Collingwood and Melbourne, both
Yeah.
sides looking to sort of secure their places in the top four, top eight. And by golly, by gosh, we have to win both of those games. That's
Yeah. Big time. The pressure is on. So I agree. I agree with all of that. And in fact, I heard from other people that I knew that were at the ground that Bombers fans were in one of the bars cheering on Gold Coast against Collingwood,
Yep.
leading up
True.
to the start of the match. There was a big roar going on when the Gold Coast prevailed. Were you one of those?
No, there was a couple of young ladies sitting in front of myself and the gentleman I was at the game with, watching the Collingwood game on the phone, and they were kind enough to share the vision with us. And yeah, it was kind of a little ripple of applause went around the ground as Gold Coast sort of nailed the game at the end. So there was that was it. It was like beauty. It's all falling our way. There was a bit
Yeah,
of concern about the weather. It was dry leading up to the first bounce, and then suddenly the showers came down.
yeah,
And then, the game sort of went from wet to dry throughout the night. But up until that point, everything was pretty much playing out as we would have wanted in terms of the other games. I
yeah,
think we should go back to the midweek
yeah. I, w-
situation because
I want to do that.
when
I
did
want to
this
do that.
game start to kind of gnaw away about maybe we're not going to get this, maybe they've got us again. I think it started midweek, not on the night itself.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think we're talking about Dangerfield, who ended up having a great game against us. So he definitely had a massive impact at 35 years of age. But he got off on a sling tackle, right? And I think the frustrating thing for us is that we've had probably 3 or 4 instances of our players um, going out for a week, 1 to 2 weeks,
Yep.
and yet he got off. I'm not sure. Was it good character clause again? Has he been, helping old ladies across the street, raising money for
Well,
a
no, it was
nondescript
the fact that
charity?
he plays for a football club that's got a spine, and that because Dangerfield was offered a week's suspension and then they appealed and it went to tribunal. We've been in the same place with our players, and I don't know whether it's because Brad Scott feels he knows how the AFL works and it's not worth doing, and you're not going to get that extra love or whatever the reason is. Essendon refuses to appeal the decisions that it gets. And I think back to Zach Merritt again. I think it was either against Brisbane or Gold Coast last year.
Yeah,
He got done for a sling tackle, which
yeah,
was half as impactful as what Dangerfield's was. And he got a week, no question about it. And then this year, we've had Harrison Jones go for one. I mean, there was Mason Redmond got done for a jumper punch, which didn't
yes,
even hit the guy's chin.
yes,
And on it goes. So
yeah,
Geelong have gone, stuff this, our best player, our captain, he's not going to be missing this game. We need him on the field. Why don't we do that? Why don't we? So what if we get a penalty or whatever the punishment is if the appeal fails? And Dangerfield coming back into the side or not coming back, but keeping his place in the side would have been a real boon for them.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
know it. They know that he's the kind of player that can kind of ragdoll our midfielders. He's done it
yeah,
plenty of times in the past.
yes,
So I think some of those negative thoughts might have started creeping into the mindset about then. But having said that, we were most certainly the team that got out of the blocks best in this game. And I thought in the first half, we were by far and away the better side. We just lacked composure and we lacked an ability to convert inside 50s. This is a recurring theme. It's
yeah.
been happening consistently week after week now for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, again, our last episode, we talked a lot about the forward line. There was a lot of analysis around that. But last night, Peter Wright, I think it was 5 marks in the first half.
Yeah.
Harry Jones also, I think, about 5 or 6 marks.
Jones was playing up the ground. He was up on
He
the wing
was
in his
he was
new
busy
sort of
all,
role.
all
Yeah.
over the ground.
Yeah.
But still, what a contribution on a sort of on a slippery night.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And I thought I had a positive feeling in that first half. I thought this is it. We're finally going to break this hoodoo. Um, so yeah, I mean, it would have been. I mean, yeah, definitely we needed to be further in front and needed to have taken advantage of more opportunities.
Yes, this is the crux of the first half was field dominance, forward half dominance, possession. but an inability to convert. And I think over the course of the entire game, we had 60 inside 50s and we were scoring at 25%,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is pitiful, really pitiful for a team, with aspirations to play finals football, to not be able to convert at a better rate than that. Now, had we just converted at 35%, which is not good, but
Yeah.
better, we probably would
Would
have
have
won
mattered.
the game.
Yeah.
We would have put them away in the first half, had maybe a 25 to 30 point lead in the first
Yeah.
half had we
Yeah.
converted.
Yeah.
Instead, we only led by 7 points at half time. And whilst I felt at the time we were still in a good position to go on, and I was thinking, well, if we can just push that out to 20 points by three-quarter time, we're well placed. But then, the Empire struck back.
Yeah.
And uh,
With some help. With some help.
sure. No, but by the empire, I mean the AFL and its cronies, and it's
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. This issue with umpiring, I think we've got to talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying we would have won the game otherwise, maybe, but certainly it wrecked the game. It wrecked the game in a way. I've got to say, I've been watching football since the late 70s, and I struggled to recall a game where in one quarter the umpiring had such a damaging impact, not only on the outcome, but on the actual spectacle. And it was almost like these guys were work experience kids applying for the job to see who could get a gig as an AFL umpire. And I got to tell you, none of them passed. It
Yeah.
was appalling. And I'll say, whilst we were on the receiving end of some shocking decisions or lack of decisions, there was a
Yeah.
couple that went against Geelong, which were equally poor. But they just only got a couple. We got a half dozen. And I think from abysmal umpiring decisions, they scored 3 goals directly, scored 3 goals in the third quarter. And that pretty much killed the momentum for us. And of course, with Essendon, as we all know, if the edge isn't there, we're pretty mentally weak as a football team. And I just don't think we were able to respond. And Brad Scott said as much in the press conference after the sort of series of, what did he call it? The
A series of unfortunate events.
series of unfortunate events in the third quarter. Our guys just were mentally shot and were not able to get back into the game. And Geelong took full advantage of that. And in the end, it was a more than comfortable win to the Cats. I think it was about 45 points. Very flattering outcome for them, but nevertheless a disappointing result for the Bombers. It's almost like, if you can imagine, it's this sort of situation where you hear rumors that your partner might be playing up on the side with somebody, but you vigorously defend that and protect their integrity, only then to find a text message from their lover. That's what Essendon did to us last night. We found out they've been
Well, it's,
chatting us.
we've talked about that. It's like being in a relationship with a Latin partner.
Yeah. Well, that Latin partner was definitely seeing someone else, because the team that we hoped Essendon it's not, and it probably won't be this year. To be fair, I think we got our hopes up again. We're still not the finished product, clearly, because you need leadership, you need strength of character in these situations. Okay, so the decisions aren't going your way. I saw Draper when he was incorrectly, not awarded that free kick in the third quarter, holding his arms out for 5 minutes whilst the
Yeah.
game went on. You got to
Yeah.
get over it.
Yeah.
You've got to step
Yeah.
up and do something. And Draper was terrible, I thought, in that game.
Yeah, yeah. Like he probably went on a bit too much, especially given his was sort of one of the earlier of that series of
Yeah,
6 decisions that were just woeful.
yeah,
If his was the last one in that series, you'd probably go, right, okay, well, like what the heck is going on?
yeah.
But I was flabbergasted that there were just so many in a row. Like there was just a whole patch there. We just, like that Jai Menzies running over the goal line. Like, what the heck was that? But anyway, we don't need to
Yeah,
relive
the
it.
Jai Menzies one is interesting because by the letter of the law, he did nothing wrong.
Of course he
But
didn't.
but they're saying that the player has to be under pressure inside that 9 meter line. He had his face towards the goal. How's he
Yeah.
to know that the guy was standing literally a meter behind him, pulled out of a
Two
trap?
players.
Yeah.
Two.
So he's just got to assume that they're going to be bearing down on him and going to slam him into the dirt unless he gets the
Yeah.
ball over the line. As it
Mm.
turned out, kudos to the Geelong players. They didn't tackle him. They just stood back and said, hey, let him run across the line and we'll see what happens. And of course, the umpires love their moment. They love that opportunity to be, yeah, it's almost like cops, right? You get a
Yeah.
little authority, you're going to use it. And they certainly did. And that was a terrible decision. On a night like that, I mean, the rule has to be looked at. Again, as I've said over and over and over, the problem with our game, our great game, is the grey area is killing the spectacle, the grey area in terms of the rules. The AFL players, professional footballers, don't know how that rule is applied. You see it week in, week out, where they're nervous about pushing the ball over the line. And even
Yeah.
commentators on TV saying, oh, don't these guys know the rule? He could just tap that across. It's a point. He can do that. He's allowed to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's that. It's the it's lack of in what is it? Not deliberate over the line. What do they call it now?
Yeah.
Lack of
Yeah.
intent to keep the ball in
Yes.
play. That
Mm.
rule. That we've got to get rid of all the grey out of these decisions,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this kind of flip-flopping on the holding the ball decision. I mean,
Yeah.
they change the interpretation of that every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
So
that has definitely fluctuated. But yeah, most players with that over the goal line just do a professional fumble
yeah,
and just get around it that way, just rather than making it
shouldn't
look.
take that. It's got to be one or the other. Why don't we
Yeah,
just let's get rid of the take away the subjectivity wherever possible. If you take the ball over the line, no matter the situation, that's a penalty. If you are the last to touch the ball going over the boundary line, it goes to the other team. That's
yeah,
it. Black and white. It's the
yeah,
same rule for everybody, so nobody can complain.
yeah,
We've got to get rid of this arbitrary decision making because these umpires are donuts. They are
yeah,
bloody donuts because
yeah,
these are guys that, they do a bit of cross country running as a bit of a hobby and think, oh, I should become an AFL umpire because I've got a good tank. I can run 20 kilometers. That's
right.
it. That's the only skill set they've got is an ability to run 20 kilometers. They've got no idea. They've never played the game. They don't understand the context of player decision making in the heat of the game. And they interpret it based on a whim. Ooh, have I played enough free kicks against that team? Maybe
Yeah,
not. Should give him one. And that's where we've got to change the rules. I tell you, this guy, Andrew Dillon, and his offsider, Laura Kane, who's the
yeah,
GM of operations football, they're
yeah,
going to live and die by this umpiring problem. It is
yeah.
absolutely endemic in the competition and it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, no, they are not doing a great job. I think it can be said. And what I was waiting for, there's been talk of this kind of this overseeing overlord umpire that sits above in the box that talks to the umpires in their ear. And I was waiting for him to go, hey guys, you're being shit
No, because that's
again.
not the mindset. You would think that'd be the case, but this is a kind of a cultural problem with the umpiring fraternity, is that it's an insecure kind of, lack of awareness, self-awareness type of institution. Yes, he should have buzzed down to the guys on the field and said, listen, the decisions are wrong. You've misinterpreted the rule. You need to correct that. But
Mm,
I'm absolutely certain that would not be the message. The message would be, don't worry, guys, ignore the crowd. The boos are unjustified. You're doing a great job. That's going to be the message. And then it's reiterated by the actual AFL itself when they'll come out tomorrow with
mm,
some, ridiculous press release to say we've reviewed
yep,
the decisions and we're
yep,
quite comfortable that
yeah.
everything was in
Yeah.
order. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
that will happen without a shadow of a doubt, and that really is disgraceful because then where's the transparency? You're just defending your guys just for the heck of it. Um, yeah, it's so frustrating, so frustrating. But I don't know if I'm with you that we absolutely would have lost the game anyway. I don't know. For me, momentum is a big thing, and that sucked it out for the Dons. And yes, they need to be harder, tougher, try and block it out. But man, come on, we're human, and that wasn't just one 12-point turnaround. That was like a 7 or 8 minute patch there where just all those were just crucified. And they piled on about 4 goals. And I think they went in at three-quarter time. Was it 21 points up, 21, 22 points
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
And so I Yeah, I don't know whether I agree that it's that black and white that we would have lost.
Look, I mean, you're right. Who knows? I guess I'm going to always try to look at it pragmatically and say, yeah, umpires wrecked the game, but we wrecked our opportunities in the second quarter. And I think this is the problem for Essendon. If we look at Essendon's performances this year, as I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
there's this consistent trend, there's this consistent pattern of a lack of composure when the heat's on and an inability to convert opportunities, and it's becoming a serious problem. And that could be a personnel issue. It could be a game plan issue, but I tend to think it's more personnel. And I really believe, there's talk about Essendon chasing Harley Reid with a massive contract. I wouldn't bother. I mean, he's a fantastic player. He will be a great player for sure. But we've got
yeah,
some pretty decent players in our team. Yeah, some of them are struggling a little, but when we win, everyone's singing their praises. But we have the core of a good team. I don't know whether our forward line is as good as it needs to be, and that perhaps is what we should be looking at in terms of where
mm,
do we want to send, the scouts and what sort of player do we need to recruit. I'm not sure Peter Wright is the answer long term. Langford, for whatever reason, has just gone off the boil. Langford's kind of gone back to being the type of player he was before last year. Very, very
mm.
concerning. We don't have a small forward. Jai Menzies not the solution. Mac Welfie is a trier. He does his best.
He
Stringer's hot and
does.
cold, and he's not getting any younger. So, Stringer kicks 5 goals one week, and then I think he had 2 goals in the first half from 4 possessions,
Yeah,
and was pretty much unsighted after that. So, I think we've got to find players like Tom Papley, Toby Green, the Tyson Stengels, these guys, Charlie Camerons, are really
yeah,
dynamic small forwards that apply
yeah.
pressure. I mean, not all of them, but to a degree, they do better than what our guys do. I'm not sure the Davy twins are the solution. I haven't yet seen that. So, and then, if we can find that kind of that tall forward that's going to command the forward 50 and be reliable week in, take contested marks. Peter Wright just isn't the solution for me as far as I can see at the moment. So,
Yeah.
maybe we get those parts of the puzzle right. We'll go to the next level. But I think right now, yeah, we're just 2 or 3 players short of being a serious threat to the top 4. I think we're a top 8 team. We're not a top 4.
Yeah. Definitely felt like that at the end of the game last night, that we're sort of, edge of the top eight kind of standard.
Yeah,
However, I mean, we've been talking a lot about the forward line, but let's talk about the back line, because I think we've sort of let in, I think, is it 390 plus scores in the last 4 weeks? I might have that wrong. Don't quote me.
yeah,
But we've been scored against. Since Ridley came back, Ben Mackay didn't have a great night last night. And remember, we talked about the importance of this game, and we went out and got Ben Mackay. Now,
yeah,
Tom Hawke wasn't there, thank God. Even though he hasn't been in the best form, he would have fired up against us.
yeah.
But what do you make of the defence though in all of this?
Well, yeah, look, I didn't think Mackay was good last night. I think he's been pretty average for a few weeks, to be honest.
Yeah,
But no one in their forward line really owned us, as far as I could see. I don't think, Cameron, how did he go? He got a couple of
you
goals. I
got
think
to yeah, you
Stengel
got a
got
couple.
3. I thought, we were ineffective in most parts of their forward line. Andy McGrath had moments, but his disposal was average. I thought Mason Redmond had a quiet game. I mean, I haven't looked at the
Yeah, he
stats.
did. Yeah, he did. He did. Nick
Um,
Martin did a few nasty turnovers.
Martin is, yeah, his disposal is just roll of the dice stuff at the moment.
Yeah,
He gets away with it because his good disposal is generally bloody good.
yeah.
But he can butcher the ball. So yeah, I think maybe missing Jake Kelly hurt us.
You know, you
Huh?
might be right.
Yeah,
You might
who
be
knows?
right. Maybe we haven't. Maybe he's unheralded. Maybe we haven't given him enough credit.
And on that point, I just want to say, I think perhaps team selection was an issue because we went very
Yeah,
tall. We had 4 players over 200 centimeters in a
yeah.
game where the ground and the conditions were very wet.
Uh,
Um,
yes, I want to talk about that.
why, I don't know this. Look, I understand Brad's. love of Todd Goldstein, right? He spent 10 years coaching him. Goldie was not the right in for that game. I thought both of our rucks were completely ineffective on the night. Uh,
Mm.
Funnily enough, Peter Wright was pretty good when the weather was at its worst. And then I think we had Cox on the bench, another 200. Why would you have a 200 centimeter player as the substitute?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
So I think the selection and the just sucking the life and the joy out of our fan base when they were so excited about Nate Caddy, and then
Yeah,
to have him just sent unceremoniously back to the VFL side, which actually did very well. They beat
yeah,
Collingwood. Um, you know, Ben Hobbs is withering on the vine. He would have been
exactly.
perfect for
Like,
last night in those conditions.
surely he would have been the sub choice.
Yeah.
Surely.
Dylan Shield, I mean, say what you like about Dylan Shield, but he would have been better in that lineup than having Goldstein in there. I mean, you could
Yeah.
name any one of half a dozen players would have been a better option, and we all knew the rain was coming. Brad Scott has particularly good meteorologists working out at the hangar.
Does he? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They
Yeah.
they forecast the weather 6 years out.
Right.
And we, go in with a super tall team, and yeah, maybe paid the price for that. So
Yeah. I think he got asked that at the press conference and said, "Oh no, no, no," defended his
of course he
choices.
did. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, well, I didn't know it was going to rain. Oh, if only I had known.
No, 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 didn't go with that. No, he thought it was well balanced.
So I think all in all, it's not the end of the world because I guess what it we can still make finals. I mean, we can still make finals because
Sure.
we do have a few of these sort of interstate sides coming into Melbourne over the next few weeks. We should win those games. But, I mean, the problem is if we do make the finals, it will be falling into the eight as we usually do, probably going up against a trip, say travel to, Sydney or somewhere to play the first week of the finals only to get beaten. I just couldn't handle that.
No.
That happened again. I don't know what I'd be doing. I just
Yeah.
don't, you know what? Maybe croquet is my game.
Yeah. Yeah. Book that trip to Gaza um, for the holidays. Yeah, it's after the bye last year. We know what happened. We've now lost three out of the last four. You know, I think the last episode, we talked about the team seeming to have a better foundation this year, but the next 2 weeks will be telling. Definitely.
Yeah,
It's
I'm really interested to see what the response will be against Collingwood. I'm really interested to see what the coaching response will be, the team selection response, and then the on-field response. Because, yeah, if there is any hope, we will find out against Collingwood. If we get dumped by Collingwood, as we did last year in the second game we played against them, where they beat us by 77 points,
yeah, yeah,
it's like good night, see you later. That's
yeah,
it. It'll be all over. So it really, as much as the Geelong game was the litmus test to say prove that we were the team that we thought we were.
mm,
Now the Collingwood game is the opportunity to prove that we're not a bottom half team. That
yeah, yeah.
that's changed in 1 week. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with that. So much to be proven on many levels. All right, I
Just
think.
one last thing, smoking. If I,
Yeah.
I I just want to, I mean, the guy has been getting a lot of love in the media this week, and well deserved. Jai Caldwell. Uh,
Oh,
you know, if we had a dozen Jai Caldwells, and Sammy Durham to a degree, but certainly in
yeah.
the last 2 weeks, Caldwell was by far and away the best player on the ground last night.
Amazing,
Um,
amazing.
he
Such quick hands. He could rip the hubcaps off a moving car.
well, yeah, exactly, and he probably does. But that's what they do down in the hangar at training now, hubcap ripping.
Well, they should. Everyone should be forced to do that.
Should. But he was fantastic, and
Yeah,
it was a couple of.
amazing.
I think the midfielders did okay, but there was a lot of passengers in that game. I'm not going to name names.
No,
Everyone
let's
knows
not.
who they were.
Let's not. No,
All right,
no.
I think
Definitely
that's a
shout out to
pretty good wrap.
Caldwell. All
Not a
right.
great Sunday morning. I hope you're having a great Sunday morning. I love the artwork that you picked up in the background there.
This is I'm up on the Gold Coast. We're renting this place. That is not my choice of artwork, but
You,
yeah,
you
I
keep
did
telling yourself that.
I did notice that, yeah, it probably looks a little odd in the background. I hope it hasn't been too distracting.
Well, I'm just glad it's not bare-chested men in Calvin Klein underwear, to be perfectly honest with you.
Really? Why is that? What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it at all. I'm just glad that it's not.
Right. Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
We'll see
Let's
you
leave
on
it at
the
that.
flip side. And to everyone out watching there, sorry if it's been a bit of a post-mortem today, hasn't it? But
A little because there's some alarm bells. So give us your thoughts on how alarmed we should be. Out of 10, give us the alarm bell rating. Yeah,
there'll be a few
please.
Quasimodos out there, I'm sure.
All right,
All right, enjoy the surf,
that'll do.
and
I will, baby.
we'll see you when we
I
see you.
will. Okay. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks again for watching.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. Bye.